I found this for you guys. I thought this was kind of cool. Whenever you go into the United States for ghost stories, I always think this is the best way to spend a strange news segment. And this one here, originally when I looked at it, I thought it was Dartmouth in the UK. But it's not. It's Dartmouth College. This is in New Hampshire in the United States. An investigation into Dartmouth's ghostly past. Known for its rich history, but is it haunted? Now, as with all the strange news segments, I don't read these over in advance. I want to be surprised with the rest of you guys. Enjoy it in the moment, as I always say. I don't actually always say that, but I'm saying it now for you. I love this graphic here. There's 3 ghosts in it, and a full moon, and a tree, and energy, so you know. It's good. Sophie Bailey. Good job. Now that we are a mere 5 months and 5 days away from Halloween, yes, this is a bit delayed. I've been meaning to do it. This is from May of last year. But, it doesn't stop the ghost stories from being interesting, as I always say. Now that we're a mere 5 months and 5 days away from Halloween 2021, not that anyone's counting, I think it's only appropriate that we delve into Dartmouth's storied paranormal past. Dartmouth has a long history of mysterious deaths and spooky occurrences, which have resulted in a number of ghostly reports over the years. It's powerful. In the summer of 2019, Grace Rubin, 22, investigated some of these spooky occurrences and led a ghost tour around campus. She said she believes that Hanover is a perfect breeding ground for the paranormal. So that's the town or the city in New Hampshire that it's in, is Hanover, which has its own history to it, of course. That's actually cool. I was leading tours around the university campus. I was at McMaster doing an investigation just after Halloween of this year, 2022, and amazed at the energy that we felt there and what happened. I put it on the podcast. I think it was number 99, if I'm not mistaken, 99 or 98. You'll see it says McMaster in it. So if you want to go listen to that way you'll get the full story. But I mean, any historic university, it just gets me. So I just a pushover for these types of stories. Quote, Hanover is kind of a perfect location for ghost stories because there's so many old buildings. That's kind of the main thing you need. A creepy cemetery and old buildings and a Prohibition-era murder, Rubin said. I think we're more set up than the average college campus to have some good ghost stories. I disagree, Grace Rubin. I think if you go to some of the colleges and universities in the UK, their ghost stories are going to be bigger than anything Canada, the United States can offer. That's my own personal opinion. I think it comes from history and what happened there. Now this one's interesting. They said Rubin is referring to the murder of Dartmouth student Henry Maroney, a member of the class of 1920 and a member of Theta Delta Chi fraternity. In the 1920s, the manufacturing, sale, and distribution of alcohol was banned by the 18th Amendment. This is the Volstead Act. This is Prohibition. So in the United States, they were the first ones to fall. Eventually Canada as well. As a result, many people began to sell, distribute alcohol legally. This included a guy named Robert Meads, a member of Dartmouth's class of 1919. Accounts of the story differ, but according to Harold Whitaker, Maroney's roommate, the pair went to Meads' dormitory in North Massachusetts Hall to purchase whiskey. Mead agreed to sell the pair a pint for $8. It was a lot back then. But when he left to get the bottle, Maroney tossed a party-filled quart bottle at Whitaker, and the two jumped out the window and fled to the Phi Delta Chi house without paying. So they took the bottle and ran. Meads fired 3 shots after them. Where did he get a gun? But neither of the men were hit. So I wonder if Robert Meads maybe had ties to bootleggers? New Hampshire, is it close to Chicago or New York? So it's actually, if you guys look here, it's near, actually it's right near where Dartmouth would be, or sorry, Boston. So it's right above Boston. So it could have been connected to bootleggers in Boston, could have been connected to New York, or maybe he's just doing it on his own. I don't know. So he fires 3 shots, but hit neither of them. That night, as Maroney was in the bathroom preparing for bed, Meads entered the fraternity house and sat at Maroney's desk. When Maroney left the bathroom, Meads fired the 2 shots through Maroney's heart that gave the Boom Boom Lounge its name. 2 booms for each of the 2 shots fired. Boom Boom Lounge. Lodge. Boom Boom Lodge. Here you go. Boom Boom Lodge, The Storied History. This is on the Theta Delta Chi website. So 1920 is a Prohibition era. So yeah, so that they're right. It gave it its name. There's Robert Meads' name. And so he shot Maroney twice. Maroney died almost instantly, and Meads was later charged with his murder. There have been reports of strange occurrences in the house ever since. Rubin describes reports of ping-pong balls flying in odd directions during games of pong in the house, and some believe a ghost is behind a defiance of physics. Now, if I was a ghost, I'm not sure I would choose ping-pong as my way to communicate. I don't know. Just the name of it would make me feel kind of small. Anyway, just years later, on February 25th, 1934, 9 students died at the Theta Chi fraternity house, the same place. Same place. Now Alpha Theta. Gender inclusive. Oh, that's nice. An improperly banked furnace caused gas to accumulate in the house's furnace until it exploded, causing carbon monoxide to fill the room and killing all 9 of the house's residents. The house was demolished and rebuilt, but the basement retained some of the original structure of the Theta Chi house. That's personally one of my worst fears. I would recommend to everybody, if you don't have a carbon monoxide detector in your house, put one in. This is Ghost Guy Daniel's tip of the week. Tip of the week. Put your carbon monoxide detectors in your house. It's very important for your safety. I care about you. Now, some people have seen evidence the spirits of the dead still haunt the basement. In 1992, one man participating in Sing Night, a ritual where members affirm their bids to their house that often involves alcohol consumption, reported seeing 7 men in old-fashioned wool suits join in on the tradition. I don't know, if I was drinking that much alcohol to try and make it into a fraternity house, I assume I'd be seeing a lot of things. I think 7 ghosts is probably the least of what would be seen. While the man claimed to have no knowledge of the carbon monoxide accident that killed the 9 students, he identified the men he saw in the Alpha Theta basement in a 1934 yearbook, and the photos he identified matched the victims of the accident. Other members have reported more strange occurrences over the years. Some members have found the contents of the refrigerator mysteriously spread on the stairs leading out of the basement, along with other basement ghost sightings. I don't know. Contents of the refrigerator. I mean, just think of the energy that would have to go behind doing that. You have to go open the door of the refrigerator, take the items out, float them over the back staircase. I mean, you see a lot of work just to waste food. I think it's just, it could be a practical joke, but I'd like to know more about these other basement ghost sightings. That's probably very interesting. What is this? Panarchy? Panarchy? The Panarchy Undergraduate Society's house is another site of ghostly intrigue. According to the legend, a doctor and his daughter Emily used to live in what is now the Panarchy house. Emily was schizophrenic, and the doctor used to hide her away in the attic of the house. I was talking about this before. Which one was it, guys? Was it the other strange news article that I did? How they always talked about when a child was disfigured, mentally unstable, and handicapped, that it somehow was the thing to hide them away in a basement or an attic. I don't know. It just seems like too much of a horror movie to me, but maybe it was the thing back then. Tragically, Emily died by suicide in the cupola, and her body was buried in Dartmouth Cemetery. Through the years, there have been many reports of haunted activity in the house. A 2012 article in this newspaper I'm reading now described residents of the house reporting waking up to drawers violently shaking, experiencing eerie, lucid dreams, and feeling a strong presence in the attic. Yeah, lucid dreams, that's one that gets me. Because I've had that experience where you're in a haunted place and you have a dream that evening that is very lucid, in the sense that, while it's very visual, you remember it afterwards. Lucid technically means that you're in control, that you know it's a dream, which was kind of the case too before I woke up and then promptly vomited. Another story for another time. But I know that is a common occurrence in a haunted place. If you're being affected, they can somehow affect your dreams. And I think it's all around energy, but that's another story. Present-day residents of the Panarchy have agreed that some of the mysterious encounters so these are mysterious. Munaka Bigay, sorry about that if I pronounced it incorrectly, age 23, currently lives in the attic, and a week into moving into the space, she said she began to have scary experiences. Quote, "It started with me being woken at 5 a.m. For nights on end, and literal planks in the wall were falling out," she said. "There's a corner of the room by the door where I would literally be woken up to these planks just slamming out. They would just be flying out of the wall, and then leaving you with a gaping hole into the insulation and wiring." Seems over the top. Seems like like something from a poltergeist movie. After being woken up in the middle of the night for multiple days in a row, she called her mother and told her about the phenomenon. As she was explaining the situation, she said the string lights in the same corner of the room began to flash different colors. From that point on, she noticed the lights would flash 3 or 4 times per day, always exactly on the hour, despite attempts to fix it. Quote, "I went through all the explanations possible," she said. "I reset the breaker, I plugged in different outlets, I reset the whole light system, nothing made a difference." I mean, it could be a malfunction, but I have one of the investigation tools you guys can use if you're doing an investigation is basically just a small mag light. I don't know if you've seen them, like the little mini mag lights. You can actually unscrew the top, not all the way, but almost all the way, so it's loose, so that if you were to shake the top end, the light would flicker on and off. So then you put that on the edge of a table, so that the loose end kind of hangs over the side a bit, so it can move freely, and then you can ask questions. And if you have an energy in the room, it is said that the light will flicker. So you can say flicker once for yes, twice for no. And I've seen it work. I've seen psychics mostly, they've done this technique, and it works really well. And I'd be amazed. They say, "Oh, are you here?" And it would flash once. Or, "Are you male?" Flash twice for no. And so on and so forth. So the fact that they can affect lights, is possible. So this young lady also reported feeling like she was constantly being watched. Said her housemates were skeptical at first, the haunted affairs occurring in her room, but as her friends began to spend more time in her room, they too became convinced were real. One of her housemates, Connor Hutto, 22, lives in the room directly below the whatever that is. And I gotta find out what that is. Hold on a sec. Cupola? I think I was right. Relatively small, mostly dome-like tall structure at the top of a building. Oh, so it must be an old building then, if they have one of those. Okay, now we all know. I'm sure you guys are saying you knew, but now I know. And that's all that matters for the video, is that I know. He also reported feeling of someone watching him, just like her, along with other mysterious activities. He said that, quote, he said that occasionally he's left things out in his room, and just like that, he turns around and they're gone. On a certain occasion, he was trying to fix something, and he puts these nails down, and they just disappear. Panarchi's basement featured a tomb room, which is usually locked because it is against fire codes for the residents to spend time there. Well, I mean, if it was called tomb room, I don't think anybody would want to. That should be enough to keep you out, but you never know with college kids. However, one day, while she was in the class, some of her housemates decided to enter the tomb room. The group took the door off its hinges, and walked in. Although she didn't know what was happening at the time, she said she started feeling her ears popping and felt afraid. Quote, I felt like it was being opened, like I was going underground. Although living in that place is sometimes scary, she said her housemates embrace the haunted elements of their house. That's good. That's good. I mean, you don't want to live against it, because then you're just going to stir it up more. Just kind of go with the flow. Quote here, final quote. I would say that the people who live here enjoy that there's an endearing charm to the fact that it's so old and has these funny little parts, she said. And I would say that the sort of haunted and spooky aspect kind of just adds to that. And people love the history in general and are, for the most part, pretty fascinated by it. And Sophie Williams quotes down here, I definitely felt there weren't enough ghosts in L.A. Patrick McHale. This is New Hampshire. Oh well, it's good to have a quote. It means people are reading it. My overall review for this story here, I haven't heard anything that's too over the top. I mean, the panels getting ripped out of the wall, that's over the top. I don't think Spirit has that kind of energy. You might disagree with me. I know in the horror movies, like anything with a poltergeist, they can do that. But I think in real life, I think it's more subtle. Getting panels ripped out of the wall is not something I do here commonly. The most common things are the sounds, the footsteps, the lights flickering, things being moved around, which there was a lot of that here, a lot of things being moved around. So I do believe that completely. And a lot of bad feelings, like negative feelings, which is also very true. So some areas of this, I would say I'm a little skeptical, like the panels being ripped. But the majority of it, seems pretty legit, especially in a place that's not only filled with very energetic younger people, college students, which if you have an energy about you, especially if it's like an emotional energy, that you can cause a place to kind of take off, so to speak. So universities in general tend to be energetic places for that reason. And this kind of proves that to be true. But I loved it. I love the stories behind this. I had, there's New Hampshire. Right here I have a picture of Maroney. This is the kid who was killed by Meads. Whiskey quarrel leads to Dartmouth shooting. This is the original, newspaper title. Henry E. Maroney, slain by Meads, had almost won brave fight against craving for alcohol acquired during war service in Navy. So, okay, all right, that's where he got the alcohol from. So he wasn't connected to a bootlegger. That's what this taught. You gotta love old newspaper headlines. They're very long, and you get an idea for what the article is about. There's none of that clickbait. The clickbait crap that they have today is none of that. This is straightforward. It's going to tell you exactly what you're reading in the newspaper, and that's how it should be. And hopefully it becomes that in the future. Why is Jennifer Lawrence in this search? Meads held without bail for grand jury. He was actually sentenced to life. Victim had taken bottle from Slayer without payment after price dispute. Yeah, he was sentenced to life, I believe, in prison. It's Jennifer Lawrence again. Must be the boyfriend. Henry, maybe? Anyway, overall, good experiences. Nothing too over the top. I do believe it. I don't think this isn't a joke in any way. I think this is some legitimate experiences that happened to some folks at Dartmouth College in New Hampshire. Anyway, that's strange news. I'll talk to you guys next time.